Can you open the door of a Tesla using Excel?
You can probably do some actions with the Tesla car using API. For sure, Excel was not developed to measuring your temperature. However, it's possible.
Can you make a coffee using Excel? Can you open a Tesla car using Excel? Today in the studio we have Patryk Samborski, who is the MVP award professional. And he's one of the 4 people in Poland that was awarded MVP this year. Welcome, Patryk.
Hello, everyone. And just to be precise, there are 4 people in Excel that are awarded by Microsoft with MVP. But long story short, yes, this is true.
Perfect. It's great to have you here in the studio. So first question, challenging the Excel, because everybody knows Excel, Microsoft Excel tool. Lots of us are thinking that this is so mature, so legacy kind of application that I would like to challenge it and ask you a question. Will it die in next few years?
Well, it actually depends if we speak about Excel itself or the Visual Basic for applications, which is the programming language behind Excel and other Office products. So if we speak about VBA, it's partially true that the language is no longer supported by Microsoft, or to say in other words, it's not being developed. I think they are looking for some different solutions, probably more like cloud-oriented in a longer perspective. But if we speak about Excel, it's a different story. Like, we see ongoing changes, especially we as MVPs that are being developed by Microsoft developers. So definitely it's a completely different story if we speak about Excel and its future. I would even say that with the time, Excel takes some of responsibilities from VBA. So we can do much more in Excel than we could do in the past. And because of that, in the past, we used VBA because of, let's say, some Excel missing functionalities. So we had to use VBA to overcome some problems. But now, when the time comes and Microsoft works on this, we can leverage Excel more. So this is a good information, and long story short, Excel will definitely not die. And I would even say that it's the same for VBA. I mean, even if we decided today, let's say, to kill VBA, I would say that it will take years, and tens of years, until it actually happens.
Very interesting in terms of our audience today. So just to explain you, Excel, it's much beyond just the standard calculation sheet where you can use some formulas. It's much more complicated than that. You can use some connectors. You can connect Excel using some APIs to different applications, even to some hardware that you have in your home, potentially. You are an expert of Excel and VBA. So coming to the previous question regarding what is it going to die? And you said, no, I don't think so. Most probably due to the fact that Excel is being developed ongoingly. And when you develop a kind of process for business, then I think what you are doing is only the things that you cannot deliver using Excel, then you are potentially making some additions using VBA. Is that right?
Exactly. I like to say that VBA is like a pinch of salt. So the main dish should be actually an Excel solution, just not to reinvent the wheel. So if something already exists and it has been already tested for years probably by people know what they're doing. So it's better to trust the built-in functionality that already exists in Excel and try to look for VBA solution only where like Excel cannot handle this, like cannot actually handle this. So what I'm trying to say is that it's better to spend a little bit of time for like looking for solution that can solve your problem in Excel rather than starting writing a code from the scratch, because most likely the problem can be solved using built-in solution in Excel. And funny thing is that people don't do that. So especially like beginner developers, and this is the same mistake that I did in the past. So I wanted to develop everything, which was a mistake because most of the problems could be solved easier using Excel and its built-in functionalities. But when I try to reinvent the wheel and write it in VBA, I actually bring a risk of that something will go wrong in the future because it's not tested as well as the built-in functionalities.
And there are potentially some dependencies, right? For example, when you connect Excel to some data sources like SAP or any other platforms, then it might happen that after the upgrade of the data source or platform, this solution that is based on VBA is no longer working properly, right?
Well, that's true. Like I said before, it's good to think that behind Excel there are experienced developers and testers, and they did a great job by releasing new versions of Excel. So it's good to like squeeze maximum of what has been released. And whenever something is missing, then focus on VBA and try to add like as minimum, as few lines of VBA code as it's possible, just not to bring the risk of something going wrong. So I would say the fewer lines, the better.
Okay, so considering that from what I'm hearing, that VBA is being put into the kind of corner shadows, and Excel is the primary solution that everybody should be using. Is it still worth learning Visual Basic for applications? What do you think?
I would say yes. And this is mainly because of, I would say, how easy it is to start programming with Excel. Because whenever you start a job, most likely Excel and whole Office package is already installed on your machine. It's already there. You don't need to install anything else if we speak about like your job. And I think this is a good place for starting learning Excel and VBA, simply because you can like automate your task that you need to do on a daily basis. And whenever you overcome or automate your task, you're being awarded with automation. That, okay, yesterday I had to do it manually and now it's automated. It's cool. I want to learn this. So I think it's fairly easy to start learning because, like I said, VBA is already there. If you already have Excel, VBA is already there. So the only thing you need to do is to press Alt F11 and you are already in the world of VBA. And I would say it's fairly easy to understand how the language behaves, how to code in VBA. It's not so complex. I would say that's exactly why it became so famous at some point in the time. And that's why it's so hard to get rid of VBA, because it has been widely used across the world, exactly because of how easy it was to start. So I would answer that yes, it's absolutely good to start learning, and then you can choose whatever you want to do with what you already know. You can like skip to different language, or stay with VBA, stay with Excel. But I think it's a good start. And then you can choose whatever you prefer.
Perfect. Another thing that is coming to my mind right now is that we are living in a world of data, more like bigger and bigger requirements in terms of how much data we need to handle using some solutions. And as we both know, lots of large companies, corporations, they are using Excel. And it's not like, okay, they have modern solution for everything. Lots of supply chain processes or accounting processes and so on are based on Excel plus VBA. So speaking about future, speaking about modern world, that we need to handle lots of data. Do you think that Excel can still handle modern needs of the data of the problems of the users?
It's a good question. I would say, like, it's an ongoing discussion over internet that there are people saying that you can do anything in Excel, and there are their opponents that say there are better solutions. And I think none of them is right. There are some problems that probably Excel is not the best solution to use to solve them. However, when you want to change something in a big organization or even small, you need to remember that like daily business needs to happen. So you cannot just stop it, change your IT or change your system, and then get back to the business and press the play button to run it again. And I think this is place for Excel, because I like to say that Excel is like a trade-off between IT solutions in the future and solving the problems right now. Because when you have a problem, you need to solve it right now because of the business that is running usually daily. And when IT says that we will provide like the perfect solution for this, but in a year or in 6 months, you can't afford this. So Excel is like a trade-off between two of them, because you can use it right now, straight away. And of course, it's not ideal solution or long-term solution, but that's not the case. The case is that the problem must be solved right now. So I think this is the place for Excel.
The business must be running and
exactly. Like I said before, you cannot like put your business on hold for a month because you're waiting for a new solution, even if the solution is perfect. So you need to find easier way, like a workaround solution. And I think this is exactly where you should use Excel. Sometimes there are some delays in IT, like everywhere. When the delay happens, you can still run your business using the workaround solution. So it can be pretty stable solution. And it looks like it's just a table, but you can do pretty a lot. So that's why so many people use Excel on a daily basis.
As we also both know, even if there is a modern technology, someone is like bringing this magnificent idea that, okay, now we are building something super awesome. Still, these temporary solutions that are based on Excel, they last longest, to be honest. Yeah, because it simply works. Okay, it doesn't maybe look that super nice, but it does the job, and you can use it, and your business can run smoothly, and you are operational. You can sell your products, do whatever you need.
Yeah, and I also like to say that I'm not 100% sure whether it's true or not, but I like to say that if something works, then just leave it alone. Like, let it work. I often see that people try to implement something new just because it's just because it's fancy. They simply want to bring something new. Maybe there is some, I don't know, back-end purpose of this. And I think I even know what that could be. But long story short, I think that if something wrong, just leave it alone. Because if you touch it, You bring a risk that something will go wrong. And yeah, it's just a risk we don't want to risk probably in our business. So yeah, sometimes Excel solutions are stable. It could be left alone for years. But I think big companies like to be modern. So yeah, that's how it is.
And still, like talking about supportability and development of the future releases of Excel, I don't know. I will ask you in a second about VBA. But I remember back then, it was, 5-6 years ago, I couldn't run any macro on macOS. But nowadays, everything works. I mean, I haven't seen anything that I couldn't do, on at least using my automation processes, whatever I'm using. It simply works. And yeah, so it proves that it's being developed, it's being used. But what do you think? Is it something like this that Microsoft will be still investing in VBA, or your perception is that in a couple of years Excel is going to be so powerful that VBA will simply be replaced by Excel?
That's a good question. Well, starting from the beginning, so I'm not a heavy user of Mac and Excel, but I think you're most likely right that most of the things you can do both on Windows and Mac. However, there are some like slight differences, especially if we speak about some libraries that come from like directly from Windows, so you cannot expect them on Mac. However, not all problems expect these libraries to be used. So yeah, I would say most problems can be solved on either Mac or Windows. I can say that VBA is maintained by Microsoft on a regular basis. And I think that's simply because most of big corporations, companies, they heavily rely on Excel solutions that were developed years ago, and VBA was on the top, let's say. And they are simply Microsoft's clients. So they cannot just stop providing the service, I mean VBA, because they would probably, break the business of huge corporations. I think they cannot afford doing this for their clients. They will probably try to push some modern solutions over VBA in some period of time, but I think it's a slow process, and I think it's good. But what I can also say that when I see how Excel is being developed, and for example, when a new function is being released, I can see that there are some, let's say, the change is also being visible in VBA. So although it's not being heavily developed, still we can see that VBA developers keep it updated to some point, which is, I think, a good sign that they still remember about VBA. And when some important change happens in Excel, I think they keep it updated in the backend in VBA as well. But in long term, probably, well, it's hard to say right now what will happen in the future. But what I observe is that they are looking for some more cloud-oriented solutions, which VBA is not the case. But like I said before, it will take years.
Yeah,
so,
and probably large clients, corporations are gonna still demand to receive support from Microsoft for many years. So we are far from saying, okay, it's gonna die in a couple of years from now.
Yeah, and funny thing is that before VBA, there was some kind of different language, I would say formula-based language in Excel that you could automate your tasks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember well, but these were for, I don't know, over 20 years ago. And Microsoft stopped developing these functionalities, and even often like prevent users from using these old functionalities by default, but they still exist and we can still use it. So I think something similar will happen with VBA. Even if Microsoft decides to prevent user from using VBA by default because they release like a new cloud-based solution, it will be still there.
Okay.
So I think that's a good sign for VBA developers.
Before I ask you about these interesting things that we said in the beginning, can you start or open the door of a Tesla, or can you make a coffee using Excel? Because we will definitely reveal the secret. Can you do that? Can you give some live examples that are interesting, that can kind of enlighten like our audience? Because I know that Visual Basic for applications, this is not only Excel, right? Because this works among all of the products of Microsoft, from Outlook to even PowerPoint, Microsoft Access, and so on. So can you give some examples and also like elaborate more on that?
Yeah, that's a key point what you mentioned. Of course, you can do pretty a lot in Excel using VBA, but Excel is more about tables. But the key thing is that VBA also exists behind PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, and Access. And what is more, you can like combine like all of them using VBA. So for example, you can use like a simple authentication system in Excel that sends a verification code to your Outlook so that you can use the code to authenticate yourself in Excel using that code. So in this example, we have both Excel and Outlook being engaged with VBA, but you can use it across all other applications. Some time ago, I think it was 2018, when I was working in reporting team. We had a task of like preparing a report that was created in PowerPoint. It was around 70 slides. So it was a job for one person for 2 days, so around 16 hours, because you need to just create it from scratch. And with VBA, you can simply create the PowerPoint presentation in around 3 or 5 minutes. This was exactly the time for that particular report. But of course,
it was on monthly basis, right? So every month you saved kind of 2 days of work.
It was some time ago, but I think it was on weekly basis.
On weekly even.
So yeah, every week you actually you gained like 2 extra days.
So we are talking more than a week within a month time frame, because we are talking like roughly 8 days.
Yeah.
Huge saving for the company.
Yeah, exactly. But that's another good point, that if we speak about automation, it's good to focus on like most frequent tasks at the first place.
And repetitive, right?
Exactly. So most of the time our job is repetitive and happens on daily basis. So if you capture things like tasks that you need to do every day, then I think it's a good candidate for being automated. And I think this is where we should look for automation first. Yeah, simply to invest our time in a most, let's say, effective way. But like I said, we can leverage VBA across all Office applications. And what is more, we can go beyond. So you can, for example, connect to your ERP system or whatever system you use in your company. If the system provides a way that VBA can use to connect with it, then you can simply use it and just automate your tasks.
I remember one process that was like super complex in our history experience of projects, that it was like this, that one person was waiting for an email with some attachments inside that were scanned documents, and then it was being typed into Excel, And then some decisions were made, like calculations and so on. And the report was being sent to a group of users. So like you can trigger something by waiting and reading the email using Excel and Visual Basic. Then you can automate, because you can align the process that, okay, the title of the email should contain this or that. And then something will be triggered. Your formulas will calculate what is needed for the report. And even the sending like operation can be triggered by Excel. And I didn't say the most important part, that we don't need any person to retype the data from the scanned document, because you can integrate even OCR, right? So you can read the data from scanned document.
This is true.
With some accuracy, of course, yeah.
Yes, it is possible. But I think now we are closer and closer to areas that probably are for different applications. Of course, we can do this in Excel, but I think it's somehow beyond its main purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So like OCR, I'm pretty sure there are better tools for this, and I wouldn't say Excel is the best tool for doing such things, simply because I would say it's not its nature. But like I said before, it is possible, but I think it would be easier to do it in an application or program that it's suitable for this. I mean, it's tailored to these needs. So I would focus more on Excel when we speak about some office tasks. So anything related with Outlook, with sending emails,
Mm-hmm.
some calculations, even some databases or PowerPoint presentations or Word documents.
I remember, I need to stop you, because now
Sure.
I recall one thing that we spoke like recently about, that was like, it blew my mind totally. When you said that it's possible to set up Excel like that when you are receiving urgent email, that your light can turn blue in your room, or you can have your lamp being like lighted blue, right? So you know
Yeah.
that something really happened, and you need to check your email.
Yeah, that's true. And this is exactly when I said that we can go with VBA beyond office, let's say, environment.
Uh-huh.
So what you mentioned is something called API. So this is some kind of interface that enables VBA to connect with some external applications.
Mm-hmm.
And the producer of the light bulb that you mentioned actually provides such a service, such an interface. And having that said, we can easily like send the API request from VBA to, let's say, your lamp or your, I don't know, any bot or your vacuum cleaner or what else? Some motion sensors.
You can open the curtains.
Yeah,
at your
exactly.
home,
Open
yeah?
the curtains, open the doors, lock the doors, simply by sending that particular request. It's like a very long text that the server on the other side can understand and just take the action. This is when we go beyond office environment.
Mhm.
And whenever any product provides such a service, we can leverage VBA in this and do actually like pretty anything. So exactly what you mentioned. We can, for example, write a VBA code in Outlook that get triggered whenever email comes in,
Mhm.
and then it just send the API request to the server, which afterwards turn your light on so that you can immediately see that something happened, something important happened. And you can mix the things together however you want. So, for example, you can create your own user-defined formula in Excel that reads your temperature in your room. And for example, when the temperature is over some threshold, we can, for example, I don't know, open the doors or
like
open the
start
curtain.
air conditioning, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you can pretty automate your home. However, like I said before, this is not the nature of Excel. It's funny thing. It's some kind of
we're leveraging capabilities, and exactly. It shows them possibilities.
It's like a niche solution. For sure, Excel was not developed to like measuring your temperature. However, it's possible. But I like to use these examples to show where are the limits. So if you can turn your light on, you can definitely send some business data to your database or ERP system. Yeah, so what I'm doing with this is simply to show the limits. And yeah, these are just for fun. But I think it's much better to engage or encourage someone to come into our world of Excel rather than using like, I don't know, boring dummy data, like some values, amounts, or like meaningless names, because it says nothing. But when you see that something is happening beyond your monitor, beyond your computer, I think it's cool. And that's what I do.
This is inspirational, and most probably this is the reason why you got the MVP for this year, as a recognition, of course. So before we go further, because I think you are inspiring people by posting some content on LinkedIn. It's not a secret, because people can find some like breakthrough ideas of yours, and maybe now we can reveal the secret, right? Can you open the door of a Tesla using Excel?
I'm not 100% sure, but I checked some time ago online documentation of Tesla, and I found that they actually provide the API, so the service that I've described before. So I assume that if they provide such a service, and if VBA can turn your lights on, then it should fairly easy cooperate with Tesla car. So most likely you can probably do some actions with Tesla car using API. I haven't tested this yet, but this is my, let's say, long-term plan. I will definitely try to test it at some point in the future, and for sure this will be content for the next post on LinkedIn. However, it will probably take some time to buy Tesla, but I hope I will do that at some point. But answering your question, I would say yes. I would say you can open your Tesla using Excel or any office application.
This is amazing, and yeah, and it sounds incredible that so something that is so legacy like Excel, like everyone was at some point using it for lots of reasons, that still can do something that it's like out of this world.
Yeah, but I just want to point that there is no purpose of doing this, and lots of people say that why do you do that? And they are right that probably there's no purpose in these examples, but I just like to highlight that this is just to show the limits. And the other thing is that not so many people do that. So to me, it's like a niche. And I think it's good to find your niche. And this is my niche.
We also said at the beginning about the coffee. So this is connected and related to one of the posts on LinkedIn that you made in the past. Can you say, is it feasible? Can we make a coffee?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And long story short, this was actually the first, let's say, example of like smart home products that I used. So I simply bought like a pretty cheap bot that the only thing it does, it can just click something. And I simply thought that where I can put it on so it can click it. And I decided to pick like a coffee machine. I just simply put it on the top of coffee machine. And then what I did, I wrote like a simple script in VBA that the only thing it was doing, it was just to send like a long text, of course with some authentication token that you can simply get by creating your account online. And the only thing I did, I just sent the string to the accurate server by passing the token as well. The server was able to understand the string and just do the action. And the action was to click the coffee machine. And then what's also, I think, interesting is that like at least this particular coffee machine works in a way that you need to click it to start and then click it to stop so that you can measure how much liquid, how much coffee you have in your mug. So another problem was to measure the time that I need to send the API request again to click it again and to stop like making the coffee. But again, you can do this in VBA. You can just use some simple timer and like find the dependency on the time and the how much of coffee is being poured into your cup, so that you can easily calculate how much, like after how much time you need to send the request again to stop making your coffee. And this is what I did. It was like a few lines of code, and I published this on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to do that in your home, you can do it. Just go on LinkedIn and find the post and just rewrite the code. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Patryk, we mentioned your LinkedIn, but also like I want to say that you are because you have created the Excel course. It's a video course that is leading through some live examples or like something that can be really adopted or can be used as a great thing to learn Excel and Visual Basic. And you can, of course, after we will put it's going to be in the comments of our video. There will be a link to Patryk's profile where you can find the course, and if you find it interesting for you, you can purchase it there. Patryk, it was great pleasure to have you here in the studio. Thank you very much, and we can, for like last few words, because we said so many things. We want to encourage you. If you have any questions, if you are getting inspired by what Patryk said, leave your comment below, give the thumbs up, and also subscribe to our channel to hear more. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was good time. And like you said, if anyone has a question related to either, I don't know, MVP, VBA, Excel, or anything, just simply ask and I'll answer.
Thank you, Patryk.
Yes, thanks.